Well, hi, Edgar. Thank you for taking the time today to, talk to me today on ZotTube. My name is Blessing. I know a lot of students and families are anxious of what fall quarter is going to look like and, what to expect. And I hope today you can help give, just a little bit of insight on a lot of students' questions. So before we dive into questions, could you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. It's nice to meet you, Blessing. My name is Edgar Dormitorio. I'm Assistant Vice Chancellor and Chief of Staff and Student Affairs here at UC Irvine. And I've been on the campus for 21 years now in various capacities, but I'm happy to be in this role and working closely with the Division of Student Affairs. So I'm happy to maybe answer some questions for you. And if I don't know the answer, then I'll do my best in trying to let you know where parents and families should go.
Great. Thank you so much. So like I said before, this is a new experience for, a lot of us, for faculty, students. But I know the students that are probably feeling the most anxious right now are probably the new and incoming students. So what are some new ways that incoming students can get connected to other students in a, new virtual learning environment?
Yeah, I think it's going to be certainly a challenge, but I think one thing I do have to praise for our students, is particularly the incoming students who maybe ended their year, they were in high school virtually, or if they were coming from another community college environment, they ended it virtually. And so now they're coming into this kind of space virtually. So you have to praise them for the resilience, to be able to go through all of this right now and being able to, come to the campus with us. And I think there's going to be different opportunities in terms of learning. One, of course, is going to be in the classroom. And I think we sent messages earlier that the learning environment for the fall will be almost entirely remote for undergraduate students. There are a handful of classes in the undergraduate space and also in the graduate space. I think those students will need to check with their faculty and their departments on the status of those classes. But I do believe a lot of them will have remote offerings. So a lot of that will be facilitated by, I think, the faculty and TAs that are doing that. But I think, for us in student affairs, we also like to say that there's a lot of learning that takes place outside of the classroom. And so, you've been on the campus and you know that Welcome Week there's a lot of fanfare and a lot of activity. And so we won't be having that kind of in-person experience, but we're going to be doing some of the same things. Like we'll have new student convocation for all students. And then they'll be going to their dean's welcomes right after that via Zoom. And then after that, we're going to have the Anteater Involvement Fair. So it's going to be like we typically do, and the Anteater Involvement Fair is one of those traditions where we like to engage students in, things that they can learn about the campus and student organizations and departments they can be involved with. So we're excited because we're moving to this sort of different platform through a program called Campus Groups. And students will be able to navigate sort of campus involvements through campus groups and through the involvement fair. So we're crossing our fingers, making sure all the technology works well, and then hopefully they'll continue to engage virtually in that way.
Great. Well, despite being virtual, that still sounds, really exciting nonetheless. So I guess another thing that students are probably worried about is for those that are in different time zones. So if students are in different time zones, should they be worried about classes that conflict with their time zone? And what is UCI doing to ensure that those students are, shown compassion during these unprecedented times?
Yeah, I think that's one of those examples where I'm going to defer to our folks in the departments and to the faculty directly. The other area that I'll mention to you that students should take a look at is our office for the Vice Provost for Teaching and Learning and our Dean of Undergraduate Education, Michael Denon. They put out a series of videos on what to expect in the classroom and what the experience is going to be like. I'm not certain if this particular issue is addressed there, but for most of the classroom related items, that sort of falls under the Division of Undergraduate Education. And so, I think like all of us, including the faculty, they are also quickly learning how to navigate this environment. And, we had a spring quarter where people had to pivot very quickly. And so I know that there was a lot of learning that took place during the spring. And so I'm hoping that the faculty will also be able to provide, instruction when the time zones are different to accommodate those students who might be in a totally different place in the local Southern California area.
Right. Well, thank you for, you may not even know the answers, but just referring students to, where to, get possible answers. That's totally fine. So kind of building off, these unprecedented times, I know myself and plenty of others have felt that 2020 has literally been the definition of a roller coaster, from COVID-19 and staying at home and, to the tragic killing of George Floyd, that sparked the Black Lives Matter movement. And being Black myself, I know it's definitely been emotionally and, psychologically draining. So what are ways that UCI is currently helping to support, the psychological and emotional well-being of Black students on campus?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a real difficult and challenging place for the Black community and the campus on the whole. The campus has been committed to supporting our Black students and the Black community here. A number of years ago, we ended up founding the Center for Black Cultures, Resources, and Research. And under the leadership of Arisa Ajimu, who's been, I think, very supportive of our students and helping them find some leadership opportunities and ways to engage on campus. But of course, being like remote, right, that feels very different and interesting. Our counseling services has continued to offer support and help to students. And so they have actually seen, if not an uptick, the same number of students coming through, even through this virtual kind of space. And while the students aren't here on campus, our Vice Chancellor Willie Banks, has, of course, taken this issue very seriously, and throughout the course of the summer has been addressing it with our staff on campus. And there's a number of things that maybe students aren't aware of, including we've done a series of workshops with a trainer by the name of Dr. Cynthia Bergeron, who's helped us, Dion Bergeron, who's helped us and the division through workshops on anti-Black racism. And so, what was impressive about that wasn't just a one kind of hour commitment that we had, but it was about 4 trainings that we had with her of several hours for each training. And so for us to really take a deep dive in the history of race relations in the country, right? And actually putting a challenge to our staff to do more in their own work. And so I think that's been an ongoing conversation, and it doesn't stop with just the trainings and workshops. We're also doing a common read for our staff within the Division of Student Affairs. And it'll be on How to Be Anti-Racist, a book by Ibram X. Kendi. And we're doing a common read on that piece so that we can have other staff just kind of become up to date on some of the issues so that they can bring up issues and concerns within their own department and units. So we're going to continue these efforts within our division, because our division typically works closely with a lot of students. And then broadly, right, the Office of Inclusive Excellence is doing a lot of work too. And a number of weeks ago in the LA Times, there was a piece on identifying UCI as a Black thriving campus. And so under the leadership of Dr. Doug Haynes, we're going to be continuing that work. So as you know, there's no cure-all for I think what this country is experiencing, but the more we can do to help support our students by supporting our staff that support students, I think our staff will be better equipped to help our students work through some of these challenges.
Well, that is amazing to hear. Just the effort alone is one step closer compared to not doing anything at all.
Absolutely.
So, thank you. So kind of moving on to more of, apart from academics, because, college is not just about classes, but it's also about, student life. And you kind of touched upon this. But so given that fall quarter is going to be, looking a little bit different than most, what events do students have to look forward to? I know you talked a little bit about the Anteater Involvement Fair, but, what else is there, to look out for fall quarter?
Yeah, and that's kind of tough, right? Because things and information changes all the time. We're sad to hear that in terms of in-person events or in-person sports, the athletics department, most of which is affiliated with the Big West, in the fall, they're not going to take place, right? So we have that information now. So a lot of the excitement around fall sports is something that the students really like and want to be able to attend events. But there are, in addition to the Anteater Involvement Fair and the clubs and organizations that'll be doing things, Welcome Week activities through ASUCI. They plan a series of events that are virtual. I think one I'll highlight is our esports program, which is unique to the campus. And they've been doing this online thing for a long time now. And it is one of the few experiences that continue to keep going. And so, we have some top rated teams. I would encourage folks to, jump on Twitch or follow them on social media and cheer them on, because they're some really hardworking students that have balance in their life by making sure they're good gamers, but also good students.
Right. Maybe, the usual sports may not be there, but we always got esports, little things to dive into, trying different things. So kind of building off that, sports, a lot of people may not be, sports people themselves, but they, still do club sports, and athletics. So what's the status on the ARC? Will the ARC be open for this quarter? And if so, what changes would be expected for us to see?
Yeah. It's hard to say. I think the default position we're telling folks is that it won't be open for the fall, but we're hoping as things get better that we'll have the opportunity to be able to maybe open gradually. We're keeping a close eye on that because we know that the ARC is one of those places on campus that students congregate at, that they like to be at, that they identify with, that they meet people with. It's like one of those other places on campus that people come together. We're watching it closely. We do have plans in place in terms of how the space will be modified. And so some of those things are already underway, where they're moving equipment around, using common spaces, maybe taking one of the courts offline so that they can use that space. So it's not as if it's just sitting there. We're prepared to try to get students back into that space once we're given the go-ahead to do that. But those precautions will be taken so that we can do that safely.
Great. Well, that's exciting to hear, especially myself. I'm not a sports person anymore, but it's always nice to, again, new experiences, because I feel like that's what's the theme.
Yeah, UCI is one of those places where folks are conscious about their wellness and their well-being, and they want to find balance with all the things that they're doing, and sports and fitness and all that's an important part of that. So we recognize that that's the case, and we still will have students on campus. And so we want to make sure that those students are having a balanced experience as well.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. So last question. So what are ways that, students can get involved despite being off campus? So I know, some are choosing to, live on campus, whether it's the ACCs or, the residential housings. But what about those that are, off campus living at home? How can they still be involved in, in student life?
Yeah. I think I would tell students this, first-year students this, whether they were on campus or they were off campus. And that means, or that's letting them know that, it does take some courage and risk a little bit to put yourself out there. And so we mentioned this earlier, the Anteater Involvement Fair will be a great starting point for students to check out other clubs and organizations, particularly ones where they might have an interest in or want to learn something new. And so take that risk and put yourself out there and find out more about something that you really love or something that you want to learn more about. And that's, I think, the first great step for any student to be more involved and engaged on campus.
Well, that is, step towards a good direction, especially for those that don't know where to start. So thank you, for your advice. Well, that's all the questions I have for you today. Thank you again, Edgar, for taking the time to, do this interview with me on ZotTube. I hope you stay safe, and still get some time to enjoy the few days we have left of summer.
Well, thank you. I hope the same for you as well. Stay safe, and hopefully soon enough we'll see each other on campus again.
Thank you.